Take me out one more time, is all you said to me. And I swore I heard.
Live on social media. Today, I have a wonderful guest, an artist named Raquel Kemp, who is an enrolled member of the Muskogee Tribe of Oklahoma and also belongs to the Dene and Choctaw Nations. She is a full-time artist and works as a metalsmith and printmaker. Her work includes materials and symbols from each of her tribes of the Southwest and Southeast, which tells stories of trade routes and specific geographic materials important to her people. She combines her skill and knowledge and creates modern and unique one-of-a-kind pieces. Her work can be found in galleries, prestigious art shows across the country. Welcome, Raquel.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah.
I'm very excited to have this conversation with you. We've worked together in different ways over the years, but I don't think that we've ever had a time to fully chat because we've been always so busy working.
Absolutely, yes. I was thinking about that the other day. You're always so busy running around at like the seeds market, and so I don't think we've ever had a chance to even really talk and discuss and, just chat together. So this is cool. Thank you so much for having me.
And thank you for taking the time. I know it's early where you are. Can you give our audience an idea of where you are in the world?
Yeah, I'm in Arizona. I'm in Mesa right now. I'm with my family. And I have been for since the beginning of COVID, and kind of hunkered down and decided to, spend some time with them and make sure that they're safe during that time as well. So I'm here with them right now, but I'm looking forward to, starting to travel and figuring out my next moves after this as well. So, yeah.
So that's really interesting because your father is a very well-known artist, Randy Kemp, and performer, musician.
Yep.
What has it been like being back with family? Have you been collaborating on ideas? What is, I guess, kind of dream that you're all working together and making beautiful things?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is such a good time, especially for artists, I think, because we're forced to kind of sit down and settle down and kind of look inward and, reflect. And, I think it's always like art always represents life and what's going on at that time. So we definitely have been collaborating a lot. My little brother's here too as well. His school in San Francisco, the San Francisco Art Institute, actually closed down, and they were having some issues too, and especially during COVID and San Francisco being one of the hot spots in the beginning, it was really hard for us. And so I had to go and figure out how to get him back home and, safely. So he's an artist as well. He uses a lot of technology, and sound design and sound work. And then so my dad's a printmaker, painter, funny guy, just an amazing person as well to have around and to kind of build ideas off of. And so having us three, and then my mom, who's like the analytical, like she's like kind of business minded side. And so she's the one that keeps us grounded when we're like all over the place and we have projects going on here and there. She's just like brings us down to earth, and kind of it just works out so perfectly. We weren't sure how that was going to go, but yeah, we definitely have been performing on Zoom and different platforms online. So we've definitely kept the creativity going. Yeah.
Sounds like an incredible balance. And also you moved quickly to adjust to all the change, and you've been responsive. And I've seen the different Zoom programs pop up, and it's really wonderful that not only are you able to share like you used to, going to different shows and having a specific local audience there, but being able to share more globally.
Yeah,
so that's
definitely.
really nice. Yeah. You find, well, let's back up for a second, because I'd really love for you to explain first about your beautiful jewelry and what the path has been for you in creating it, because I know your father is a printmaker and you also work in printmaking. but how did you kind of transition yourself into jewelry, and where did your interest start?
Yeah, that's definitely an interesting path. So ever since I was little, I would, be in my dad's studio, and I got introduced to printmaking early on. And so I started doing shows at like the Hearn Museum, like the student art shows and all of that. So back in high school, I was doing those things and working with different master printers, with Chico Indio, which is Chico now here in Arizona. They do a lot of really great workshops. So from there, I just realized like I really loved creating with my hands and creating textures, designs, colors, and all of that. At first, I actually really wanted to go into fashion design and making clothing. So I actually took some classes at Phoenix Community College for fashion design. So I did some textiles classes, worked on some croquis, like did that whole thing. But I really wanted to, get my hands in there and actually make stuff. And I wasn't really a big pattern maker or anything. So I was like, oh no, what do I do? But so like the transition from that was like, I absolutely love jewelry, and I love, accessories, and I love that whole part of that. And so it's like, maybe I should just, instead of like thinking broader, like think of like something and focus on that. And so I think jewelry making has always been something that like always was just like, wow, like what is this? How is this made? It's so cool. There's such a big, in our culture and our background in all of my different tribes, especially Navajo silversmiths, like it's always so amazing. And I grew up going to art shows and gallery shows and meeting them and oohing and awing at all of these amazing like pieces of, and thinking of like that's just made by their hands, like their ideas and their hands, and they're carving it out of like tufa stone, and then they melt it, they cast it, and that was just like so thrilling to me. And so from there, I think after doing a little bit of studying in fashion, I even went to a fashion school up in Minneapolis at one point too. So I do have some background in retail marketing and business and all of that on that side. So I figured, I was like, now's the time, like if I want to figure out another passion and like get into it, like I need to figure out how to do this. So it was pretty hard trying to figure out that path, because I don't have anyone immediately in my family that's a silversmith, or that's able to teach me like traditionally to apprentice with them or anything. So I would go up to different artists and ask them what they thought. And there's a little bit of reluctancy there, but I think that's okay, because it is a precious thing. It is knowledge, and you should be weary about who you let in and who you teach and all of that. And so I think that's really personal. It's a personal decision. So I took one basic class in downtown Phoenix about 5 or 6 years ago. And it was literally probably like 8 hours altogether, the class. I learned how to do the torch, so I wasn't scared of that. Working with silver and kind of just the basic things that I needed. And from there, I just watched videos on YouTube, looked at books, kind of sat down and just figured a lot of things out myself. And I'm grateful for that, because looking back at it now, I realize that was a gift to myself, because I started to create stuff that didn't look like anyone else's pieces. You see a lot of people that are learning from different artists, and their pieces tend to look like theirs. And so, it was just like, I think that's how it was supposed to be. So yeah, so now here I am. I'm, doing it. And I feel like it's definitely a passion for me, for sure.
That makes so much sense to me now, because looking
Yeah.
at your work and how it's just beautiful, and it is so completely unique and very fashionable and very contemporary, but also, you are inspired by all of your cultures. If the audience who is listening, you have to get on Raquel's website, indigenouswomanmade.com, to see the work, because you will be blown away. And all the background that you're giving me right now, now it's completely, it makes sense. I get it now, because I've always been drawn to your work. It's always been very sophisticated and elegant. And so this is very interesting. And I think the point you made about not learning on your own and being mostly self-taught, getting the technical skills, but also that your work is not derived from any other artists. And that's okay. That's other people's path. And sometimes that
definitely. That's perfectly fine.
That's okay.
I love that, because it does keep traditions and like how things are done. And, it kind of keeps that going. But I definitely respect that and love that too. But I think, things happen for a reason. And this was my path of how I figured out, my own style. And it took a long time as well to develop that. But I think I'm doing okay.
I think you are. I think you're doing great. So how has the transition been from becoming, more of a inexperienced jeweler to becoming an experienced jeweler and traveling around and presenting yourself as a jewelry maker, a metalsmith, and entering shows? I mean, that is a whole process in and of itself. And I'm sure you've done that growing up with your father, so you kind of had an idea. But what was it like coming out on your own? I mean, I know you mentioned that you did youth shows at Heard, but that is still a different type of entry point. So moving in as a metalsmith, how did that work with you?
It was definitely different. And I think, I don't know if people took me like serious or not, or at first, because I know, like doing printmaking since I was 12 years old, doing all these shows. And then all of a sudden I transitioned into, doing jewelry. But I think once people saw how much I was working at it and how hard and how dedicated I was, and realizing like, wow, she's actually, coming out with pieces left and right, and, really working with her time at the bench, and, creating, and constantly evolving, and, just doing it over and over again. And that just gives you so much, so much insight into that. And I think people started to realize that, she's definitely passionate about this, and we can see that now. And so I think people are starting to slowly like, okay, like, let's have a conversation. Like, how do you do this technique, or how did you figure this out? And so now it's kind of funny, because people, other jewelers are starting like, oh, that's a really cool unique, like, who taught you that? Or, and so it's pretty fun to have that conversation, and then realize that, have people realize that, this is a passion of mine, and I'm definitely dedicated to it. And I just appreciate, having conversations, and, and so also I think 3 years ago, I finally decided to do art markets, and kind of like debut my work into the mainstream. And it was pretty cool, because the first time I applied to Santa Fe, which is the hardest show that I got into, and I hear from other people that it's really hard to get into as well, especially for something like jewelry. I applied, and I wasn't expecting to get in for that, but I was there for, printmaking already. And so they did accept me into the show for jewelry making. And I thought that was just like, oh my God, like holy cow, like I get some recognition from that. And from there on, I was just like, okay, let's work harder. Let's show everyone what I can do. And I'm still working for that. I still thrive, for that, and also for knowledge and continued knowledge, technique wise, and all of that. So I think, from here, I just want to keep on learning as much as I can. And I have plans to go to a school after COVID just to learn setting and, maybe some goldsmithing and stuff like that. So I'm definitely not done where I am right now. Like I'm not complacent. I'm not a person that, just sits there and kind of rides it. Like I want to push myself and definitely learn new things. So
It's so
yeah.
wonderful. On that, I think we should take a break, but I would love to
Okay.
explore that more when we come back. This is Tyler
Yeah.
Doyle with Raquel Kemp on Usula Media. We'll be back. Hi, we're back.
That was so quick.
That was quick. This is great. So when we left, we talked about how you got into Swaya Santa Fe Indian Market, and that was one of the big achievements that you had as a coming out as a jeweler, and that must have boosted because it's so competitive, and there is so. And for those of you who are listening who don't know, there are over 700 artists presented there every year, and only very few booths open up every year for new artists to be able to break through. So being able to be a part of that and get in after working in jewelry for a couple of years is such a major accomplishment for you. So that must have been an incredible confidence booster. And I love the fact that you talk about, well, that didn't mean I was done. It just meant that I had to keep pushing myself and keep learning and moving to the next level. And that's such a fierce way to approach art, right? And it shows obviously in your work. And I really appreciate that. I think it's very inspirational to think in that way. Like you're always moving forward. I remember my father's an artist as well. And he taught me when I was little, he said, nothing is ever a masterpiece. And he always said, people say, well, do you keep all your stuff? Do you have everything you ever made or whatever? And he's like, I give everything away, or I'm selling it, or I'm giving everything away, because I'm always aspiring to the next level, and I'm always learning and always growing. And that always stuck with me. It sounds like you have the same type of drive, and you're going to discover new things and bring new things to the art world that have never been seen before, and which you are doing, which is incredible.
Thank you. Thank you. That's so cool.
So let's talk about
I love that.
I did too. And I love that you're from an artist family. I think it sounds very
I think our families, our dads are kind of similar in that way. Yeah, for sure. They give off the same vibe, for sure.
That's funny. Because you said something about the jokes, the performance and the jokes and music making, all that stuff. So it's really fun to talk to you in this way. Let's talk about your printmaking. So this is where you started to develop your skills as an artist. And We Are the Seeds is having a show at Form and Concept, an exhibition in Santa Fe, opening on August 11th, and it runs through August, I believe, 26th. Visit formandconcept.center to find out all the details. Raquel's going to be there. And you had submitted a piece of work that was very powerful. Can you talk about it a bit?
Yeah, I think it was very introspective. I kind of had to think about my path as an artist and what that means to me, as well as my identity as an Indigenous woman and what that means, and what I wanted to carry on and what I wanted to represent in my work and my pieces. And so I early on, I was just thinking, I lived in the Southwest, so I was closer to my Navajo family, my Navajo side of my family, and I didn't get to spend as much time in Oklahoma, where my dad's side of the family is. And so I was really concerned about not honoring that side of my family as much as, the Dene side, my Navajo side. And so from then on, early on, I wanted to, create pieces that represented each of my tribes. So Choctaw, Yuchi, Muskogee Creek, and Dene. And so this piece was kind of really representative of that, in that it and me as well, and loving all of the jewelry and all of the designs and motifs and all of these traditional ideas and stories within this piece. And so I created a lino cut piece that I carved out of linoleum, and the piece represents a lot of jewelry pieces that either I've seen in my family, or jewelry of stories that I've seen, like the carvings from Mound Builders, which is the spider that's on there, the whirling logs that are on there, that have deep meaning for my Dene side, and that's a really big conversation in itself. And then there's also designs from my Choctaw side as well, from like old pins that they used to wear on their cloaks, on their clothing. And so I just picked up all these different elements of adornment through my different tribes, and I incorporated that into the piece. And so it was just kind of like something that represented me as, all these different tribes. And so I think it's just a beautiful way to, show my heritage. So that's kind of what I was thinking about.
Show your heritage and show the work you're doing and everything that you're inspired by. This piece is on We Are the Seeds Instagram page, We Are the Seeds _art. So you can see it there, and then you can see it also on Form and Concept, but you can actually see it in person during the exhibition in Santa Fe. So if you're able to do that, please come out and see our exhibition. It's going to be really beautiful. We're really looking forward to it.
I would like to just add that I worked with an amazing master printer here in Scottsdale at his own studio. His name is Brett Bond. And he was a really great guy who I met through another workshop that I did here in town. And he really he pushed me to do these pieces, and he did different types of runs of them. So there's one that's on black paper that's silver. And then the one that I'm debuting at the show here next month, no one's ever seen it. It's a 3-color run. So it's like a really bright red with black and silver in it. And so it's really eye-catching. You can't really tell the different colors and the different dimensions that it has unless you see it in person. So it's definitely something to see in person for sure. So yeah.
Well, now I'm really excited. I'm thrilled. Are you also showing at the Santa Fe Indian Market this year, or in any of the surrounding shows? You are?
Yeah, I am. I'll be at the market. And I wrote down my booth number here because we're moved a little bit further away, but I'm sharing booths with my dad this year, so you can come in. Yeah. So you can come and see us. We'll be on Lincoln East 766. So we'll be there for the market, and then we'll stop by the show as well. So yeah. Oh, and then I just wanted to add, I did make a cuff piece that will be in the show as well at the Form and Concept. So that'll be a surprise as well, because it kind of correlates with the imagery and the idea of the materials of that piece too. So it's going to be right underneath it or right by it. So it's going to be cool.
It sounds absolutely incredible. And I know Form and Concept is such a beautiful gallery, and they're just doing so much hard work to make this exhibition shine. So we're really appreciative of that. I cannot wait to get there. So I'm leaving next Friday. I'm driving with my family.
Oh my gosh. Driving.
Yeah, he's 10 and he hasn't been vaccinated.
That's
so
fun,
I just want to traveling, and we'll just have a nice little trip there, or a long trip there. So
we'll see.
What is your plan in light of all of the changes, and it's just ongoing, everything's shifting and changing by the minute. So what is your plan as to how you're traveling and how you're approaching these shows?
Definitely. So yeah, this is going to be our first show out we've been in hibernation like everyone else, kind of, staying away from everyone. We've all been vaccinated, which was really important for us, especially my family, because I had to make sure that they were taking care of underlying health issues, excuse me, as well. And so we are all vaccinated. We have been for some months, but it's still a scary thing to be out there. And so we're still looking at how the variants and how all of that is going. And we're just kind of going with it up until the very last minute. Who knows, but we are excited. We'll definitely set some boundaries in our booth for that, to keep distances. We really respect everyone, and we want to make sure that we respect that space as well. So it's definitely a harder one, and I wish we could be moving a lot faster over this, but it'll take some time for sure. So.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And I completely understand everything you're saying, just being ready to be responsive to whatever is happening, and hope for the best, right? I mean,
Yeah.
we've adjusted before, we can adjust again, but it will be really nice to see everybody. And because that, just being in Santa Fe at that time on alone is just a source of such wonderful energy and inspiration and joy.
Absolutely.
So it's really, it's a very special time. So
it definitely has a buzz about it. It
Yeah.
definitely feeds your soul of like, wow, like so many creative Indigenous people here in one time. And it feels like a celebration of that. And it definitely, and just like the rain that comes down every once in a while, or it's just perfect weather and amazing. And it's definitely good for the soul to be around so many amazing people as well. So we definitely crave that, but we definitely understand the boundaries of that as well. So yeah.
Right. So we had a couple of questions come up on Facebook. I guess they were wondering, have you traveled to the East Coast to show your work? And if not, do you have plans to?
We do Idol George. So we do the Idol George show. We did a performance online this year. As I think that's as far east as we get. I plan on doing some shows out East Coast as soon as we can. Like, I'm just really ready to go. So if there's shows, I'm definitely open to them and ready to show anywhere. But I do have a few shows that will be coming out soon. We have one in Oklahoma. Me and my dad, speaking of collaborating, we were asked to help with the animation of the Yuchi creation story for the first American Art Museum. So that will be opening up in September this year, and we haven't seen it yet. The last weekend of August, I think, is like a preview for the artist. So we're going to go head out there and see how that looks. But it's on this giant screen that wraps around, and we helped with the animation. We designed it. We worked with the company to do that. So we have that coming up in Oklahoma.
That's
and then next,
incredible.
Yeah, it was so cool.
I just wanted to, that's a new museum that's opened up, right? It's not open yet. It's just in development.
Not open yet.
Still? Wow.
It's opening September. So I think they're pretty much done. But yeah, it was so cool. And we were so tight-lipped about it. We haven't said that to anyone really. We haven't announced it really, because we're just like, we don't know. We signed a contract saying we wouldn't say anything. And so we kept on like asking them, like, can we announce it yet? Can we announce it yet? Like, we just want to share this. It's so cool. It's such a cool thing to be a part of, and to be a part of the Yuchi telling of that, because there's not many Yuchis out there. And it was so cool that they reached out to us. And it's such an honor that me and my dad got to do it together. And that's the coolest thing. So that's one of a big thing that's happening, and it's closer to the East Coast, but it's not there yet. But I think I think the closest thing would be next year. I just got an email, I think yesterday or the day before, that I will be a part of the Indigenous Toronto Fashion Week. So I'll be in Toronto next
That's
year
exciting.
doing that. So I think those are the closest that are like further away from
You're getting
the
there. Like
Southwest.
every
Yeah,
close is a little bit further east.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Well, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll talk more with Raquel Kemp on Usula Media. And we're back. I'm Tyler Nagoyo, and I'm here with Raquel Kemp on Usula Media. This is Rise and Thrive. So, speaking of Rise and Thrive, and it's so early in the morning, what did your day look like today?
I woke up and got ready as fast as I could. Usually, actually, I've been very good to myself for the past couple of weeks. I've been getting up super early and riding my bike like 8 to 10 miles. But you have to get up super early in Arizona right now because it's over 100 degrees by the time probably right now, and it's 8:45. So I've been enjoying my early morning bike ride. So that's usually what I do. But right now it's kind of hectic because I'm getting in that gear, that mode of working late nights in the studio, because I'm definitely a night owl when it comes to creativity. I think that awakens at nighttime more than a day.
Sorry, I was muted.
Oh no.
So you're just gearing up, doing lots of work. So when it gets closer to the market times, do you find that you are doing a lot of like all-nighters and working?
Oh yeah.
Or you're like, yeah, I was gonna be like, are you
oh yeah.
Are you more on a time schedule where you work more of a 9 to 5 and try to no?
I wish. I wish. I think it just, I don't know, that creative side of myself, like I can't switch it off.
Yeah.
So I'm constantly like, okay, I'll take a break from this and I'll sit down and kind of relax. But then like I'm constantly thinking. And so I'm like, okay, I need to go run back into and work on my bench because I just had an idea and I need to get this done and need to get it made before I forget. Because I'm not a big, I wish I drew out stuff because that would be such a cool thing to like look back on, but I'm such a hands-on person where I have to see the materials in front of me. Like I have to feel them in my hands, and it just kind of gets created that way more than, sitting down and kind of like figuring things out from there. But I told myself this year I'm not gonna, rush myself. Like I'll actually have a game plan where I'll set out the different pieces and make sure I have enough time, hopefully. But there's always like those last minute pieces that you're like, oh my God, I gotta make this piece because I know it's gonna be amazing and I want to make it. And so who knows? Like it's always so funny because it's like you think you have enough time for things, but then you realize, like, you look at the calendar and you're like, oh my God, that was just like 3 days just passed. Like, what happened to that? And so it's kind of interesting how I work, but it's all right with me. Like it's always fun. It's always worth it to, have those late nights. And so, yeah.
It adds to the spirit and the soul of the pieces too, that you're making them as you need to. You have to. Like,
definitely.
Choice,
like
right?
I have to get it out.
Yeah. Right.
Like, I have to get it out of myself. So this is the piece that came from that. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's very much the artist's way, no matter how hard we try.
Yeah.
Otherwise, right? Yeah.
I wish I had a schedule. I wish I could do that.
Yeah, but also in a way that on the flip side of that, it's nice that you don't have such a rigid schedule and that you're working for yourself and you get to make all the decisions and whatever you do
Absolutely.
impacts your own life and your own life only really in terms of your schedule and your sleep and all of that. So
Yeah,
that's pretty powerful to have as a young woman
absolutely.
to be so in charge of your own life.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. And yeah, I think I've been a full-time artist for I think about 4 or 5 years now. So it's pretty crazy, and it's definitely I wouldn't change it. I don't think I could ever go back to working for anyone else, whatever, whatever way. I just love the freedom of like, okay, I'm gonna stay up until 5 in the morning and make all of these pieces in my mind and like just create my own schedule and do things when I feel inspired to do them. Definitely.
So when you work, obviously it's not all focused on the artwork. When you're a full-time artist, you have to
Oh yeah.
focus a lot on marketing and photos and making sure that your image and your brand is out in the world the way you need it to be. And and social media is sometimes like a full-time job. So how do you balance that?
Yeah, that's so hard. But I think, you know, but just having a background in that business aspect of it, I do appreciate the ideas and um, the systems that I kind of learned from my time in school in Minneapolis, and that kind of gave me an insight that um, to the back end of things, to the retail side, to the marketing side, PR, shipping, all of that stuff. And it was just kind of like, it was so much stuff. I don't think people understand, if being an artist, it's not just being an artist, and people think like, oh, well, they just do whatever and they create things whenever. And no, it's so crazy. Like, you are a business owner, like you do every single thing. If you see like, you know, I take so many different photographs of each of my pieces, and it's so tedious, and I'm so like I have to make sure that I edit them correctly, that that it's in the best lighting, that and I just want to put the best out there. And so it takes so much time just to even do that. And it takes a lot of dedication, because I could work throughout the night to get a collection done, and I'm done at like 5 or 6 in the morning, and I'm like, I love this collection, I'm done. Now let's wash my hands so my hands aren't all dirty, go and take them outside and go set them up to take photographs so I can be out there for like another hour, 2 hours, 3 hours editing and getting it up on the website. And that's just a little part of it too. So I mean, it's just so much work behind the scenes. And it's so true when people say like, Instagram life, like you don't see the real stuff, you don't see like everything looks so perfect and so clean, and you don't realize like I have no nails, like my hands like are so sad sometimes. And it's all worth it to work for yourself and to create things that you love to do. And I wouldn't change it. Like all the sleepless nights, all of the, I wouldn't change it. It's so cool.
That's incredible. It's so beautiful. And you have agency. It's your own life, and you're just building this. You're an entrepreneur, you're building this for yourself, and it's so lovely to see. It's hilarious you bring up your hands, because when we started the show, my first thought was, your hands are so beautiful. How do you even pull that off? I don't I know you get in there and with the polishing, and but your hands they look lovely. So you must have prepared for the show.
I just washed them.
I mean, I know. Yeah. But I know that's like a jeweler's thing, like a challenge always to have the polish.
My one finger, my one fingernail is just always like crooked, or like it's so funny. It's okay, because it's like cool. It really shows that the things that you make are actually handmade. Like every single piece that I send out from, it was touched by my hands. It was made by these hands, and like I'm so thankful for these hands. Like honestly,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it's awesome.
That's great. It's so great. And it's interesting what you're talking about with the marketing, and that you push through, you make the pieces and then you're out there doing that. And I find that there are a lot of artists that's not their thing. They don't enjoy
Absolutely.
it. They're not really good at talking about themselves or their process or their work. And unfortunately, in the way the world works now, that's really a detriment, right? So it's like you always have to balance each of those things to move forward in the art world, which is, I guess good and bad. But it also is really nice that on Instagram and all those other types of social media pages that your work is accessible and your website is so beautiful and that people can shop on your website. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I don't have much stuff right now, but after the market, if you don't attend market in August, I'll have a big upload of all of the pieces as well. So I'm definitely always putting some new stuff up. I always love to put new things up. It's funny that you say that, because I had to push my dad so hard to like help me get his website up. So he has a website. It's called indigenousartmachine.com. So that's his website.
Great.
That's his website and my brother's website together.
Okay.
And it was just so hard to I'm like, come on, Dad, pull out all of your pieces. Let's go take pictures of them. I'll upload them for you. And I had him do some PR he did some t-shirts. He has stickers now. Like I pushed him to do all these things because I'm like, they'll sell. Like it's just, you have such great stuff, and it's just people need some motivation for that too. And once they see like, oh my gosh, like I'm getting sales every once in a while, I'm like, see, that's happened. It's like you just have to put a little bit of work in, and you'll see that you start having attention, and like people are seeing it, and people want this. People are searching for this. Like I see a lot of people out there being like, oh my gosh, like I'm searching for beaded jewelry or silversmithing jewelry, or even just specific tribes and stuff. And so it's so cool that you can be accessible in that way, because there are people that want to celebrate Indigenous artists and support them as well. And it's cool to make it accessible to them as well. So
right, especially in this world where there's so much of that Indigenous inspired stuff by these big corporations who are trying to steal ideas and co-op knowledge and do all these things. So it's really important that our Indigenous artists their work is accessible. And it's true, when you around the holiday time, when everybody's posting their work on Instagram, that work goes so quickly. I mean, even beadwork artists are having contests for who can, like a raffle, who can buy their work. And it's pretty much exploded online. It's pretty amazing to watch.
It's so cool. Yeah.
It's very cool.
I follow so many artists that do that, and it's just like, I always praise them. I'm always like, oh my gosh, you just sold out. Congratulations. That's you. Like people, posted up there. People are looking for this stuff. Like they're looking for Indigenous handmade items. And it's such a cool thing. And to the idea of what you were saying about all the inspired stuff. Yeah. I mean, I want to, inspire younger generations as well, and to be like, let's take this and turn it into something that we want, turn it in a way that we're voicing what we want and what we like. And we can do it. We can have our own businesses. We can have big businesses and, take that market from those people, let's take it back. And celebrate our Indigenous people that way too. Cause there's I feel like we don't realize that all of the people in all of our different tribes that hand make stuff, they're all like entrepreneurs. Like they're the original entrepreneurs of this land. Like you know, the aunties and, you know, the cousins that go and sit on the side of the road or, you know,
Yes.
on the res, and they make some money off of that. That's their business. That's their income. That's we just gotta, you know, go and take all the bigger businesses and get up there and, you know, make our websites and, you know, we
You're
can take
right.
it over. And yeah, I'm so excited. I'm so happy to see all of these small businesses on, even on Instagram, you know, making all of these sales, and it's just so cool. I love it. I love seeing everyone thrive like that, for sure.
It's wonderful. And you had such a great point, is that we were the original entrepreneurs and business owners. And
Yeah.
it's just a matter of reframing the language, right? And how we present ourselves. So I know artists would be like, well, I work in my basement or whatever. Well, no, oh, you work in your studio? Oh,
Yeah.
you know, oh, I just
Absolutely.
make this stuff. No, you're a business owner. You're an entrepreneur, you're a producer. And these are like keywords and language that kind of just shifts the way, you know, for better or worse, the world sees you as a maker. And so to, like, you sharing that type of knowledge and that confidence to younger folks who are coming up, and it's changing. You can really see it. I mean, from the older generation who had really paved the way, but didn't have the technology and the access to the wider audiences that we do. It's interesting to see, like, your generation coming in, really understanding the technology, understanding the social media, and how to utilize it to benefit not only yourselves as artists, but native people as a whole.
Yeah.
And so it's really fascinating to see, and it's really nice to see other artists and native activist folks like lifting up the younger generation. Like, this is the path forward, right?
That's where it's at.
Really
That's
cool.
where it's at, for sure. And it's so funny because it's just like, you know, all of the older generation, like they were teaching the younger generation all along, like how to build their business or how to, you know, make sales. And
absolutely.
And they didn't realize it. Like, it was just such a thing. Like, either I have to go and make this sale, or I have to commission this piece out, or, you know, I don't have hay for my horses, or, you know, I can't get the gas to get water, or, you know, something like that. And it was just like, it's intuitive. Like, it's just like something that just, I think, is passed down, but they don't see it like that. But once you realize, like, oh my God, like my grandmother or my mom, my cousins or aunties or, you know, uncles, they were teaching me how to be a business all along. And it's just like, you have, like you said, you just have to change the words around, and you realize, like, that's a business. Like, that's.
Yeah. I mean, I think they're thinking, well, this is just what we have to do to put food on the table. But if you know, from the outside perspective, like, wow, how incredible the work and the dedication and the problem solving, right? So basically they had their own corporation going. It just didn't have a name.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's incredible. And I love seeing that, and I love talking about that, because I love talking about the elders and even beyond ancestors who have paved the way and passed down this knowledge, and it shifts and turns with how we move to the future, but there's that common thread. And so it's just so beautiful.
I love it. It is beautiful. Well, us as Indigenous people, we're so beautiful, and the way we think and the way we do things and create, and there's so much meaning behind everything that we do and produce and create, and yeah, just go out and support Indigenous artists today. That's all, you know, not even me. You don't have to, you know, just go look up Indigenous artists on Instagram and go follow a bunch, go share. Even just, that's a support right there, just sharing people's art. And yeah, I love it.
You know who Social Distance Powwow started posting up a lot of artwork? People would post up their artwork, and that was during the quarantine, that was a very big access point. And so that was really yeah, it was really great, because they have so many followers, and I think and they had gotten so much press that a lot of non-native people follow it as well. And so I know I see a lot of familiar friends, artists who are on there posting up their work. And
oh, really? Oh my gosh, I must have
yeah,
missed
you need
this.
to write this down.
I know.
Yeah, and it's just such a great resource in general, just a
cool.
community connector. But it's nice. It was really nice to see the artwork pop up too, because it was mostly focused on dance and song, and that's incredible. But it was just to add actual tangible pieces to the space
in a way to support them as well.
Yes, right, exactly.
Because this was really definitely a hard time for a lot of artists that didn't know how to navigate the internet or have access to computers, and especially relatives on the reservation. We don't have that great internet connection, or all of that as well. So it was really hard for them, and I know that there was a lot of people that were supporting artists and just going up there and buying pieces straight from them, just being like, okay, I'll take all of your stuff and I'll go and sell it, or I'll go and do this for you. And so I saw a lot of people in the community do that, and I love it. And I was approached on Instagram from some other of these people that wanted to do that, just to help support. And it's like small stuff too, like just beaded necklaces, like simple beaded necklaces that were like $12. And it was just like, okay, well, how many do you have? I'll buy them all. Like, it was just, and you don't think about it like, wow, that probably fed that family for, that whole week. Like you don't really think of that in that way, because, being in the city, or being, a part of, this whole bigger market, or, you don't really think about that. But it even, just a small purchase like helps the family out, and, supports them. And, it's definitely encouraging for a lot of people. Even just like one purchase, it's just like, wow, that person liked that. Maybe I should, and it encourages them to like make more things. So
yeah,
I love that. I love saying that.
Yes, and so go out and buy art. Buy art, because it makes the world better in every way. In every way. So we only have a few minutes left, but I want to tell everybody your website's indigenouswomanmade.com, and your Instagram is
Alajua Fine Arts,
and that's spelled AHLAZUA Fine Arts. And on your website, I just want to go back, because you said there's not much on there right now, and there will be much more to be able to choose from in September. But at one point, did you have journals? You have not just individual original pieces, but you also have other pieces that you produced. Is that right?
I did a little bit of like graphic design work, and kind of, did that. And so, I do have some Squash Blossom journals still up on the website. I think I just released a few.
Okay.
And then I do have stickers. I have pins.
Perfect.
I have a few other smaller items on there as well. So yeah, just some fun stuff. And I think it was just trying to keep being creative in different ways, and learning different techniques. And, I did it off of Procreate on my iPad. So, it was just fun. I'm always looking for, teaching myself something new. So that was kind of came from that. So yeah, there's a lot of
very
different
cool
little small things.
Very cool. And I love that too, just the idea of making art more accessible, because not everybody can afford to buy an original art piece, but they may want to have a piece of your work and aspire to one day have an original piece. And so that's a great starting point. And I think it's really nice to be able to supply that for folks. And then it's just great for you too, because you're not always just focusing on the original pieces, and then you have kind of a passive income as well.
Yeah, definitely. It does help.
Yeah. So in the last few minutes, let's just talk about how do you see, I mean, there are so many unknowns, but how do you keep your spirit healthy in this time, and what do you see for yourself in the year ahead?
Well, surrounding myself with people that are, uh, that like to have conversations, just to have conversations, just to get out, what you're feeling. And I have my family here, so we always have deep conversations about what's going on in the world, in our own lives, and what we think about things. So I think that's therapy to me, is just being able to speak, my truths out loud to people who understand, and want to help me grow. And it was really hard mentally to think of what was going on in the world with COVID as well. So it was, as like I'm sure everyone else had to go through that, mentally. It was really hard, as well as the thinking of everyone else's hardships with that. But just having positive people around you, and my morning bike rides, like 8 to 10 miles. Like, it's just nice to get out there, and ride bikes, and get fresh air and see the sunrise. And that's just definitely good for your soul, and to kind of reflect and give it out to the universe, your intentions, and set those, and just speak that out. And you know I'm just so excited for coming out of this quarantine time, and to have connections and reconnect, and meet new people, and kind of grow from there as well. So, and definitely looking forward to doing other shows, and hopefully on the East Coast, and going and getting some more classes under my belt, so I can definitely keep on creating newer things, and keep on working towards endless things to create. So I'm not done yet. Like, what you see right now, get it right now, because it probably won't look the same in 5 years. It'll be collector's piece. So yeah, so I'm just looking forward to growing more, as an artist, as a person, and figuring out all the different ways that I can help my community as well in that way. So I always tell everyone too, like, if you have questions about your business, have questions about websites, or how to promote yourself, or just need someone to talk out ideas, like, I'm always open. My Instagram is always open. You can just always message me, and I would love to talk. Like, I love talking shop. I love helping people who are confused about things, or in any way that I can help. So yeah.
Absolutely wonderful. That is a beautiful way to end today's show. I am so grateful to you for joining me today
Thank
on
you so much.
Thrive and Thrive. Thank you so much. I so love this conversation. And I look forward to seeing you next month.
Yeah.
And please say hello to your family for me.
I will. Oh, and happy birthday to my dad, because it's his birthday today.
Happy birthday,
Randy.
Happy birthday, Randy. We hope you have a fabulous day. This is Tylena going on Rise and Thrive on Usula Media. Have a wonderful week, everybody. Zachariah Julian will be the host next week. So stay tuned. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take me out one more time is all you said to me.